A storm brews in tension and the fight for life, May 12th to 23rd. Spoilers for Days of Our Lives. The next 2 weeks on Days of Our Lives from May 12th to May 23rd promise some of the most emotionally wrenching and dramatically intense episodes viewers have seen in years. Lives are at stake, old loves stir, prayers are whispered, and the shadow of death looms ominously. Let's explore the full depth of what lies ahead. Philip's tragic turn. The price of power, the cost of revenge. Philip has always lived on the edge of danger. His last name alone carries enough baggage to fill a cargo ship. But in the coming days, that danger becomes all too real, all too physical. Following a confrontation that may be more than just a heated disagreement, Philip is set to suffer serious injuries in a brutal attack that will leave him hospitalized and barely clinging to consciousness. While the exact details remain hidden behind a veil of mystery, one thing is certain. Someone wanted Philip out of the picture, and they acted on it with terrifying force. Many in Salem are wondering whether Xander, driven by a dangerous cocktail of vengeance and desperation, may have snapped. Ever since Philip stood between Bo and the life-saving medication he so desperately needed, tensions have been rising. For someone like Xander, who rarely chooses diplomacy over direct action, this betrayal may have been the final straw. Could he have retaliated in a fit of rage? But the streets of Salem hold more than just grudges. With whispers circulating about the erratic and increasingly unstable Doug 3, there's growing concern that this next-generation troublemaker may be spiraling into a pattern of chaos that draws innocent victims into his storm, including Philip. In either case, the consequences are dire. Philip's injuries will land him in the hospital, where doctors fight to stabilize him. When his mother, Kate, receives the call, the news hits her like a freight train. Her son, her pride, her blood, is lying broken and unconscious. And all she can do is wait, hope, and try not to collapse under the weight of her fear. With tears in her eyes and her heart in her throat, Kate rushes to his bedside, desperate to hold his hand, to see his chest rise and fall, to know that she hasn't lost him. Bo's battle, between life, death, and love eternal elsewhere in Salem. The fragile thread of life is slipping through Bo's fingers. Still in a coma, his body lies motionless, but his presence is far from absent. Memories surround his bed like ghosts, and for Hope, the pain is almost unbearable. As she sits beside him, hand resting gently in his, she is transported back in time to their 40th wedding anniversary, to the days when love was simpler, fuller, and bursting with laughter and life. Hope refuses to let go. Every breath Bo takes gives her hope. Every twitch of a finger, every murmur of a machine is a lifeline. She talks to him constantly, reminding him of their children, their adventures, their shared dreams. She is convinced, with the fierce faith of a woman who has survived too much, that Bo can hear her, that he is still in there, that he is fighting. But not all battles are won in silence. Julie, holding back her own grief, turns to a higher power. She kneels in prayer, hands clasped tightly, eyes fixed upward. But this time her prayer isn't just to the heavens, it's to Doug, her beloved husband who now walks in the afterlife. She begs him to intercede, to guide Bo back, to whisper to him across the veil of death and remind him that he is needed, that his family is waiting, that love is calling him home. For Julie, it is a sacred act of faith. For viewers, it's a moment of heartbreaking beauty and unbearable suspense. John's grim fate, a sacrifice for another's salvation? As the storm around Bo rages on, a quieter but no less tragic narrative unfolds with John. While the details are still cloaked in secrecy, all signs point to a devastating development. John may be dying. There is talk, hushed, speculative, but impossible to ignore, that John's death may not be in vain. That in his final hours, his body may hold the key to saving Bo. Organ donation, a final act of love, a passing of the torch from one hero to another. It's a story so full of sorrow and selflessness that it would break even the hardest heart. Marlena, sensing the looming shadow, begins to spiral. She receives a call, something about Johnny, and a discovery that brings momentary relief, but that peace is short-lived. The moment she speaks John's name, Susan is overcome with a sense of dread. Something dark, something ominous, something irreversible is approaching. And as the weeks unfold, it becomes clear, Salem is preparing to say goodbye. Whether this means John truly dies or finds himself in a miraculous recovery remains to be seen. But make no mistake, his storyline is heading toward a gut-wrenching climax that will shake the town to its core. Medical crises spread like wildfire. Salem holds its breath. It isn't just Philip and Bo who face health emergencies. Spoilers confirmed that the next 2 weeks will be filled with medical uncertainty for several characters as hospitals buzz with critical cases and every ringing phone seems to bring bad news. Nurses whisper in corners. Doctors glance grimly at charts. The air is heavy, the stakes are rising, and the people of Salem brace for the worst. Salem has been through its share of pain, but this chapter may prove to be one of its most devastating. What lies ahead? A future hanging in the balance as May continues. One thing is certain, no one in Salem is safe from the crushing weight of fate. These coming days will test families, friendships, and the very limits of love. Some will rise, others will fall. Old wounds will be reopened and new ones will be carved. But in the darkest hours, Days of Our Lives reminds us that hope, however fragile, is never lost. Whether through a whispered prayer, a miracle in the ICU, or a sacrifice made out of love, the people of Salem continue to fight. And we will be there with them. Every tear, every heartbreak, every moment of redemption. Stay tuned and keep the tissues close. Salem never sleeps, and neither do the fears of those who call it home. As Monday dawns on May 12th, the town's peace is already cracking. Roman learns that Johnny slipped away from the Brady pub with the very weapon that almost ended EJ's life. The revelation leaves Roman's voice tight and his brow furrowed as he confides in Kate. Though his words are steady, the dread in his eyes gives him away. What if the sweet-natured boy he helped raise is hiding something unthinkable? Kate, clutching her phone with knuckles white, feels two terrors at once. First, the horror that Johnny might be guilty. Second, the gut-twisting fear that her beloved Philip is about to make everything worse. She knows her son's history just as she knows how quickly greed can blind him to the line between boldness and ruin. 2. Johnny's confession and Chanel's heartache later that same day. Johnny's shoulders slump as he stammers a confession to Chanel. In a voice barely above a whisper, he admits a dark wish. Sometimes I think the world would be better if Father had died. The words spill out before he can choke them back, and they hang between them like smoke in still air. Chanel, fighting tears, demands the truth. You held the gun, Johnny. Did you pull the trigger? His head shakes so violently his hair whips across his eyes. No, he insists. I wanted him gone, but it wasn't me. It is a moment of raw honesty, but honesty does not always quiet suspicion. Chanel loves him, yet love cannot erase the image of Johnny gripping cold steel in trembling hands. 3. Paulina's Inquisition. Word travels fast in Salem. By Tuesday, Paulina is at the DiMera mansion, voice echoing through the grand foyer. She demands answers from her son-in-law. Johnny tries to stand tall, but every stern question chips away at his resolve. Where's the gun now? Why were you alone with your father? Who can vouch for you? Even loyal family lawyer Belle has little comfort to offer. There is no alibi, only Johnny's weary insistence that someone else fired the shot. In Salem, faith is strong, but evidence is stronger, and Johnny has none. 4. Philip's midnight scheme. While the DiMeras tear themselves apart, Philip paces a dimly lit office at Kiriaki's Enterprises. On a cluttered desk lies a thick file stamped DiMera Pharmaceuticals, Versavix Project. Philip's eyes gleam as he flips through pages describing a revolutionary sepsis treatment. If he controls the patent, he thinks he controls the future. Yet his conscience flickers when he reaches the page marked Emergency Dose Reserved for Bo Brady, courtesy of Dr. Jeffrey Russell. He calls Kevin, a nervous young lab technician with student loan debt and shaky morals. Meet me behind University Hospital, Philip orders. I have a proposition you can't refuse. Kevin arrives, shifting from foot to foot. Philip's pitch is ruthless. Help me steal the entire Versavix trial batch, and you'll never worry about money again. Desperation wins. Kevin nods, sealing both their fates. 5. The heist that goes horribly wrong. Wednesday after midnight. The laboratory corridors echo with Kevin's hurried footsteps. He disables a security pad, slips inside, and stares at a gleaming tray of vials. Each one a lifeline for Bo. Panic flares when he hears voices in the hall. With no time to count, he sweeps every vial into a cooler bag and flees. Minutes later, Steve and Sean arrive, hearts pounding. They find the cabinet door hanging ajar and the tray empty. Sean's cry of frustration ricochets off tiled walls. Every second without Versavix lets infection tighten its grip on Beau's weakened body. Steve forces calm, "We'll find another way," but his eyes betray the fear he is trying to hide. 6. Kevin's catastrophic mistake. The next morning, Kevin lowers the cooler onto Philip's desk. But Salem's cruel hand twists events yet again. In his panicked flight, Kevin failed to secure the lid. Inside, glass has shattered. Priceless Versavix lies wasted, soaking a pile of melting ice. Philip's furious shout rattles the windows. He rakes a hand through his hair and realizes the scope of his disaster. Not only has he ruined Beau's last chance, he has implicated himself in a felony without profit. With nothing to show for their crime, both men spiral. Kevin locks himself in a bathroom and is sick to his stomach. Philip slumps in his chair, head in hands, imagining Kate's face when she learns her son may have doomed Beau. 7. Marlena's flash of hope. Thursday morning brings a burst of joy. Marlena's phone rings, and the relief in her voice is palpable. They found him. Somewhere, somehow, John has been located alive. She presses her palm to her chest, feeling her heart soar at the thought of her husband's arms around her again. She rushes to prepare the guest room, humming an old lullaby. Hope floods every corner of her home until Susan arrives. The psychic medium's smile fades the moment she crosses the threshold. A chill crawls up her spine. She rubs her arms and shudders. "I don't like this feeling," she whispers. "It's as if someone walked over my grave." Marlena's joy sputters, replaced by dread she is too afraid to voice. 8. Susan's terrible vision. That night, Susan's sleep is broken by a nightmare. In it, she sees John standing on a fog-shrouded pier, reaching for Marlena, but a dark wave rises and pulls him under. She bolts awake, tear-streaked, certain that the happy reunion is a mirage. She rushes to Marlena and recounts every chilling detail. Marlena tries to reason away the dream, but fear sharpens every word. As hours drag on with no update from the search team, the house grows silent, heavy with unspoken worry. 9. Friday's unthinkable news. On May 16th, tragedy strikes. Police knock at Marlena's door with solemn faces. They have found John, but not alive. His body was discovered near the harbor. Early reports suggest foul play. The world tilts. Marlena sways on her feet as the officers describe a struggle, a gunshot, and a final fall into cold water. The Versavix disaster, Johnny's mysterious guilt, Philip's greed, all of it suddenly feels small compared to the crater punched through Marlena's heart. Susan's prophecy has come true, and somewhere in the afterlife John watches over the woman he loved more than life itself. 10. The fallout and the questions that remain. Who killed John? Why was he near the harbor? Does his death tie back to Versavix, or to the gun that vanished with Johnny? Salem's rumor mill churns. Paulina presses Johnny harder than ever, determined to clear or condemn him. Roman vows to uncover the truth and bring the killer to justice. Meanwhile, Beau remains unconscious, his fate darker without Versavix. Hope sits by his bed, fingers threaded through his, praying the man who always fought for her will find strength to fight once more. Julie lights a candle beside a photo of Doug and begs her late husband to guide their nephew back. And Philip? He stands on the balcony of the Kiriakis' mansion, the broken cooler at his feet, staring at a sunrise he can't enjoy. He knows that when word spreads, he may lose his freedom, his family, and any shred of self-respect he had left. Regret, sharp as broken glass, slices deeper than any legal sentence could. 11. What comes next? The week of May 12th to 16th ends in shock, but the ripple effects promise even greater drama. The autopsy report. Will investigators find traces of Versavix linking John's murder to the stolen vials? Johnny's fate. If ballistics match EJ's gun, can Johnny prove he never pulled the trigger? Beau's clock. Without Versavix, doctors scramble for alternatives. A new experimental therapy may exist, but can Steve and Sean secure it in time? Philip's reckoning. Kevin's conscience may crack, leading him to confess and drag Philip down with him. Susan's visions. Her psychic flashes grow stronger, hinting at another tragedy unless someone listens in time. Through it all, Days of Our Lives reminds its faithful audience, especially those who have watched for decades, that hope is stubborn. Even when death claims a hero and betrayal poisons friendship, love continues to fight for a foothold. The families of Salem have endured hurricanes of heartbreak before. They will find a way to stand again. So, pour a cup of tea, keep the tissues handy, and stay tuned. The next chapter in Salem's story has just begun, and it will test every bond, expose every secret, and prove once more that in the darkest hallway of University Hospital, a single flicker of hope can light the way home.